welcome to today's Clash of Clans video. We are focusing in on the dragons and the bat spell. You guys have been asking, does it still work? Yes, it does, my friends. We're going to show you many tips and tricks in order to help you get the 3 stars, including a 3-star attack by myself. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, getting into the first attack here. This one is by myself and we will explain exactly what we are doing with the army composition. So we have 6 bat spells for this attack, and where do you want to place it? Well, you have to be selective on the base now. You can't just drop it in anyway. You have to select the bases effectively. Now the main thing, I'm not going to go on and on about it guys, basically the main thing is you need to not put it in where the splash damage is. So on this one you can see a wizard tower at the top, wizard tower at the top, they're all at the top of the base really, and the infernos are single target. So essentially, as long as we keep the bats out of range of them, we should be good. And at the bottom here we can actually get a single target inferno and 2 air defense. That's pretty good value, but we don't want to overcommit to the bat spells either. So 6 of them is what we take for this, and essentially the 2 air defense on the side, we are going to use a haste with some loons onto this air defense, and we will use the king and queen onto the other air defense whilst pulling and taking out the CC. So let's get into it. I have to tell you guys, I did have a phenomenal scout for this base. It was actually a 99%, but I did make a number of tweaks in order to get the 3-star, and I will explain that to you. So the first one I made, initially there were 4 balloons came in onto this air defense, and essentially we did not need it. There were 2 balloons that were full of health after the air defense went down. They actually got the cannon over there as well, but obviously for a dragon attack we don't need it. So I dropped one of the loons, made it a little bit more efficient. As you can see, the king comes in. I had to wait until the king lured the CC here before I'd done anything strange. So I made sure the queen locked onto the air defense. I actually waited until as much damage had been done on the queen as possible before popping the ability to make sure we got all of them CC troops within the poison, which worked nicely. Dragons then come in from the top. Now you want to use your bat spells on the back end of your attack. So as the dragons come through here, I actually spread the loons out. I needed to make sure that the bulk of them pathed across to the right hand side here, because that worked very well in that 99% attack, and I had to make sure the pathing was correct. As the dragons are getting through to take these wizard towers, in comes the bat spells from the bottom. Very nice timing in order to get the single target, then the air defense. They do fizzle out, but essentially we've protected all of these troops here. Now the other adaptation I made in order to help with time is to get the minions in at the bottom. There's a lot of trash buildings on this outside, so I dropped 1 balloon and took a bunch of minions in order to help clear out these buildings, and you can see it helps with time a lot. So essentially I dropped 2 loons out of the army composition. We saved 1 of them at the start by only putting 3 in, so I was 1 loon less, and because of that the only thing I ran into trouble with was the air sweeper here. Now the reason for that was actually all of my troops went around to this side. I was worried when I watched the 99% attack that the loons came in from here and redirected over this way, which helped out a lot actually. So I wanted to make sure my loons got over to that way, which they did, and they got me the 3 stars. So what we will do is show you more DragBat attacks and show you how exactly you want to get it to work. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date with all of my videos and live streams. If you click the notification bell, it will also mean that you get notified when any of my streams happen. On to the second attack. This one is a Town Hall 11 before we move back to Town Hall 10. So again, you can see the army composition at the bottom, 6 bat spells, but we have a freeze spell as well. Now the freeze spell tends to mean that you are going to be hitting an area where there's a splash damage, so you can freeze it. However, the good thing about a freeze spell is it's adaptable. So sometimes if you do plan your attacks, you can think about plan A, plan B, plan C maybe, depending on if you're competing with the in-game Clan War League, you might need a lot of plans to ensure you get the Town Hall. Do think about spells and troops which can potentially be transferable. So what I mean by that is you might plan to use the freeze spell as part of your queen charge, and actually you don't then need it. You can then use the freeze spell later on to give you value. It's not just a wasted spell then. So we set the funnel at the top of the base here. eDrag does a fantastic job taking out all of this. That is basically going to control the pathing of the dragons. That is a huge thing that you need to think about. It's not just where you drop the bat spell. Now let's pause for a second. If you are enjoying the video as well, guys, be sure to leave a like. Kind of been given away here because you can see the dragons coming in, but I was just about to ask, where would you put the bat spells? And clearly, look at all of the splash here. You don't want the bat spells there, you want the dragons there. Bats come over this back end of the base, so let's get into it. Again, because the dragons are deployed, look, they are not going to come up to the top of the base here because the eDrag has actually funneled that, and the eDrag has been placed nicely to merge in with the dragons. Now we have the Stone Slammer coming side on, which is often a nice thing to do as well, because again it keeps the dragons coming through the base here onto the defences, and there is where the freeze will be used. Down at the south you can see the one multi-inferno that is left remaining, and then the bats will continue to spawn on this one area here, but obviously they'll then move up into the base where the defences are. They do a phenomenal job taking down that eagle. From this point, just look at all of them bats. There are no splash damages to take them down. They will not set the red air bombs off, but if another troop sets the red air bomb off, they can then be hit. But look at them bats. Look at them go, guys. If you can basically merge them in with the rest of your attack, that is the best way forward. You can use them initially still. Let's say if you want to use the bats to clear out an area and also set up the funnel, then it can be good. But if you're just kind of trying to take down an area and that is your key objective, you're probably better trying to merge it in with the attack. That's where you will then get better success, because you're using the dragons to protect the bats, using the bats to protect the dragons, essentially hand in hand. You're getting more DPS value there. Moving on to the next one then, we have the Town Hall 10, and again, just have a quick look at this base. Where are the splash damage? We have a multi, Wizard Tower, Wizard Tower, Wizard Tower, and Wizard Tower. So they're all, if we were to draw kind of quadrants onto the base here, they're all kind of down to this area, aren't they? This top area is not got anything bar the multi, but we could freeze it. There is a sweeper on this area, so it's actually going to do us a favour and keep the bats up away from the splash damage. So just looking at the base, that's where you'd be thinking about using the bat spell. How can you help the dragons with their funnel? Well, you've got the king clearing out this side, queen is going to clear out this side, picks off an air defence as well. Dragons can then come through the base behind the sweepers, and that is exactly what happens. Again, the funnel has been created. That is massive in terms of your dragons. In comes the slammer. Again, you want to probably bring that side on depending on the defenses. Sometimes you can just push it through if you've got a narrow enough funnel, but if you have defenses on the side here which might catch your dragons, you can basically bring it in from the side, and it keeps the bulk of your dragons coming straight through the base, which is what you want. The dragons get near to the queen here, so she's not going to get targeted onto the bats. In comes the rage with that freeze and the bat spells. They take out the multi and take out all of the other defenses at the top, meanwhile pressing the dragons to the defenses at the bottom, which one of them happens to be that final wizard tower. So essentially you're taking out the air defense or single infernos, or any point defense for that matter, with the bat spell, and you're actually creating a funnel for your dragons as well. Meanwhile, you're pressing the dragons in towards the splash damage defenses, which might be taking out your bats quickly. And if you can take out any air defense to help with that, as you've seen in this one, the queen taking that out, then obviously you would want to do that as well. Now we have one more bat spell attack, then we have a very nice Town Hall 11 attack, which I will then show you. And again, this one looks a little bit funnier, doesn't it? If you have a look, we have splash damage here, and splash here. But again, if you're thinking this area of the base has air defense, archer tower, archer tower, archer tower. A lot of defenses which are troublesome for the dragons. That's essentially what you're looking for in bases. And you don't always have to use the dragons, guys. It goes hand in hand, right? If the bat spells are taking out the air defense and the multi-infernos, but they're susceptible to the wizard towers and multis, they do nothing against the dragons. So it kind of works hand in hand, but I've seen them merged in with bow witch attacks. If it sends your bowlers in a certain direction, I've seen it done. You can use this as a technique, not necessarily a strict strategy. I hope that makes sense. Again, thinking about the pathing though, Queen is going to good job just funneling this side and stripping off defenses. King has done the same here with the slammer coming in for these side defenses and ideally to target the air defense and the multi-inferno. Meanwhile, the dragons can come through. And again, look at the sweepers. We have one here and we have one here. So actually the dragons coming through here aren't going to be affected by it. The dragons can come from 10 o'clock and they won't hit that area. Now look at the splash. This one's a little bit interesting. We bring the bats in to distract this one air defense to help the dragons. Then we bring a second lot of bat spells in to target these air defense. Now you could have arguably just let the dragons do what they needed there. Decided to put some in to protect them. You know, it depends how you want to do it. Guys, there's multiple ways to take down a base. Whenever we show you these strategies, we're basically highlighting a way that worked for this base and trying to get you to think about what worked on this attack and how you can replicate, or not necessarily replicate the entire attack, but pick parts of the attack to then put onto your attack. Maybe it's just the way they created the funnel. Maybe it is the dragons or the bats, or you know, you're just picking apart bits of it in order to then make your attacks. By the way, guys, I haven't even shouted out yet, all of these attacks, obviously myself as well, done here in our arranged war, Toxic Rabbits versus Ask You Something. If you are interested in joining the Bye Forever family and Toxic Rabbits specifically, be sure to join my Discord server. It's all down in the description of this video. You can basically have a chat with us there as well. We all kind of help each other in that little Clash community. And big shout out to Axe You Something as well, who got the victory on this one, got it done. I did like this attack though, so I wanted to bring it in at the end. You've seen very recently on my channel, I covered specifically the Electron coming in and getting the value at 6 o'clock here, but look at what else he gets. Balloons come across this way and wipe out most of the defenses there, meaning that the majority of the southern area of the base is gone. Now for Lalo, that basically just means that they're not going to have to go there. And it does mean that 2 air defense are down alongside one of them sweepers. So again, if you look at the sweeper, that is a big thing in terms of Lalo. We're not going to press in direct to this necessarily, but it just depends on how you want to do it. You've got a picture here, if we were to pause the attack, that the Lava Hounds are going to go to the air defense. So you can press in here, but they're going to leave all of your troops behind. Meanwhile, you've got splash damage, all these things battering onto your loons. So we do try and come behind that sweeper as best as possible. It does end up coming onto some of our loons, but essentially we're coming behind it as well. So we have a plan. We're getting the eagle down quick and coming in behind that. So, beautiful way of compensating for this. Sometimes it's not always possible to not come in head to a sweeper. But is it going to wreck your plan? In this one, we're able to get round the back of it, which essentially allowed us to get the eagle better. It allowed us to protect the troops coming through a little bit better, and essentially meant that we weren't susceptible to all of these wizard towers when our lava hounds left us if we came in from the other side. Getting down to the end of it, this just proves how much value that Electron got. We have so many loons, it is insane, and troops coming in from every single angle. So I did want to demonstrate that one to you to kind of finish off the video. Focused more on the DragBat per se. I hope that one did help you out. Again, all of my videos, I tend to break down these war strategies into more you know, a layman's term way of explaining things, very basic level. Just explain things very simply. That's what I aim for, and hopefully majority of people, yes, you're probably focusing on war specifically, but whether you're more of a casual war player to the more advanced, you can hopefully get something from my videos. If you haven't already, the subscribe button is right next to me. That wraps it up for this one though, guys. Until next time, peace out.